Hello everyone, this is Highlander from MTG Cardsmith doing a custom Magic the Gathering card review, and today we have a card by ShadowReign called Akeem, the Trade King. Look at him getting his smoke on there with that hookah. And what is this that he's holding? This is like is this like a quiver? It looks like a quiver of some kind. So yeah, I mean he's chilling, he's smacking, he's relaxing, all cool. And what do we got here? So this is a 1 and a blue-black hybrid for a cat peasant at 1-2. All right, so pretty bad stats, but I'm sure he's got some kind of a neat ability. Flash. Okay. When he enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Okay, so you get some value there, pays for some of the cost here. Tap. Exchange control of target artifact you control and target artifact with mana value 3 or less you don't control. You lose 3 life. Okay, so you give your opponent a treasure or something, cheeky like a Jinxed Idol or something like that. I'm sure there's some kind of stuff you can do with that. Or like a Phyrexian Dreadnought. You like play a 1 mana Phyrexian Dreadnought, swap it with one of their things, and Phyrexian Dreadnought dies, something like that. Yeah, I mean, like, this reminds me a little bit of like Oko. I guess not. It's not quite like that. I mean, this is a fine card. Certainly, like you could build kind of a neat deck around this concept, I think. Of course, the kind of the tricky thing is your opponents actually have to have artifacts that you want to steal, right? So like, there's just a lot of decks that this guy is just like, if this guy is your commander, for example, feels like there's just going to be a lot of decks that this doesn't really work against. I mean, okay, sure, you can play like your liquid metal coating, right? You let me bring up the cards I'm talking about. Is it liquid metal or liquid metal? Yeah, liquid metal coating, right? So you can turn other things into artifacts, potentially. So there's certainly some stuff you can do there. But also, you're only gaining things with mana value 3 or less, which, I mean, is fine power level-wise. But, like, your opponent plays a Grave Titan, again, the card I always bring up. And, I mean, what are you going to do against that? So, I mean, that's, of course, from a commander perspective, right? I mean, from like a limited perspective, if this was in an artifact heavy set, this would be a pretty good card, I think. Anytime you get to just steal your opponent's things and gain value that way is good, right? I don't even know if you need to lose 3 life on here, to be honest. I mean, you also still have to be able to create. I mean, yeah, okay, you can keep swapping the same, you can keep swapping artifacts around if you want. But you also need to be able to create artifacts yourself. So, you create like a Ichor Wellspring or something, Mycosynth Wellspring. Give it to your opponent who probably can't sacrifice it, and you take one of their things. So, I mean, basically this card by itself seems pretty weak to me. Though it's quite cheap. So I mean, okay, sorry, let me backtrack here. I think this card is fine, but not exciting, but on its own, right? So if in a vacuum, I mean, being able to trade a treasure token for some artifact they control with, CMC 3 or less, it's just good value. The flash seems a little random. It doesn't really do much for this card, but I mean, whatever. It's fine. It also doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, what, he like jumps out of the alley. He's like, "Hey, friend, you want to buy this thing?" Is that why he has flash? I don't know. So, I mean, clearly from a flavor standpoint, this is pretty cool. This is a cool card. Excuse me. And again, by itself, it's fine, unexciting. you really got to put in the work to make this guy good. And even then, it's not really that good, I feel like, right? I mean, it's a fine value card, right? Let me say that. This is a fine value card if you put in the work, but like the thing is, if you're putting in the work, if you're putting in that much work to make this a good value card, it feels like not really what you want to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so think about this from a commander perspective. In commander, your commander's often a big part of your win condition, right? Or adds a lot of synergy to your deck or whatever, or you build your deck completely around your commander. In this case, if you play this guy and you build around this guy, where you put in like your liquid metal coatings and you put in your Ichor Wellsprings and you put in all these like artifacts that work with this guy, the fact that he can only deal with things with CMC 3 or less makes him kind of irrelevant, right? I mean, he'll be annoying, like he'll steal their soul rings and their, you know, their like mana rocks and things like that, but then eventually they're still going to play something huge, and then it's like, what do you do from there? I mean, and this guy doesn't really do too much. So yeah, I mean, again, this is another card that I like conceptually from a flavor standpoint. It's cool, and it's really a fine design. From a design standpoint, like it's a cool little value card, but like I just have trouble seeing a home for this card. You know, and maybe there's some like crazy commander combo that I'm not privy to or whatever that this works really well with, but like the place that I could see this living is like a sideboard card, basically, against like very specific decks. Again, the fact that you need to target artifacts specifically, and you lose 3 life. Like, the lose 3 life there doesn't seem necessary to me at all, really. I mean, it just... I suppose against some decks this would be really oppressive, but that's like a very specific type of deck, right? Very, very specific type of deck that this would be oppressive against. And any other deck, this is just like a little value card. And there's nothing wrong with little value cards. It's just you don't really want your little value cards to be legendary creatures that, you know what I mean? So, and the fact that his like stats aren't that great. I mean, if this guy was like a 1/3 and maybe he could swap with like artifacts or creatures. So you have to give them an artifact. You can take one of their artifacts or creatures, but it has to be like CMC 2 or less or something like that. Then you're talking like a pretty strong, I think, card. It's still not really a card you would want to probably like build your deck around in Commander, but certainly like a strong enough card to be worth playing in, like, say, like a constructed deck, right? Or again, especially in like limited. I mean, you have this guy at Mythic, right? So yeah. So conceptually, again, I like this card from a design standpoint. I think it's a little, and again, this, you know, assuming I'm forgetting, you know, something crazy here. Feels like I just want a little bit more from this card, especially at Mythic, you know. If this was like uncommon, like an uncommon legendary, I think I would be more okay with it. And again, I still think the lose 3 life is pretty unnecessary here, so. So yeah, I mean that. So I'll give Akeem a 7 out of 10. It's a low 7 though. I'd like to see a little bit more with this guy. I mean, again, it's a cool concept, very cool concept. You know, the way it reads currently, it's not particularly exciting. I suppose it does ramp you. So if you're playing like other artifacts, I mean, it's fine to just like play this guy, ramp yourself for a turn, and then, you know, play some other things and start swapping cards. You know, I mean, that's certainly worth considering. So maybe I'm being too harsh on this card, but this one doesn't really scream, doesn't really capture my excitement, I guess, as it stands right now. So that being said, I think it's probably still worthy of a 7 out of 10, but could be higher. So yeah, 7 out of 10 for Akeem the Trade King. Let me know this one's a little bit difficult for me to judge. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you think this card is like, what, you know, let me know what are like the combos with this card. What can you do with this card? Is this a card worth building your commander deck around? You know, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time.